Puzzle games take many forms. Some are more complex than others, but how challenging can a game that revolves around the simple action of folding a piece of paper really be? The game I am of course talking about is the highly anticipated Papertrail. I've recently completed this game and I'm going to share my thoughts with you today, so hopefully that this will give you an idea if the game is one for you. Huge thanks to the creators Newfangled Games who gave me an early access key to try this out, but all the thoughts expressed in the video are my own and I've not been subject to any form of approval to publish. Don't forget to like and also subscribe, but let's turn the page and take a deep dive into this game. Before I get into my thoughts, I'm just going to explain what Papertrail is all about. In brief, this is a charming indie puzzle adventure game. You will help the aptly named protagonist Paige on a journey by folding and unfolding paper to reveal the path forward. Along the way, there are a variety of unique characters to meet, origami pieces to collect, and some increasingly intricate puzzle mechanics to get to grips with. Papertrail is self-published by Newfangled Games, and it is releasing on the 21st of May 2024, and it will be coming to the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, PC, Mac, Xbox, and Android with Netflix, so there is going to be zero FOMO. I hate that word, but yes, you can literally play it on any platform. Papertrail's story begins on a stormy night in your home village of Southfold, and you soon learn about Paige's desire to leave home and fulfill her dreams of going to university. But unfortunately, these dreams are in conflict with her parents' wishes, and despite those wishes, Paige decides to run away. The remainder of the story will unfold through Paige's journal pages, that is a mouthful I know, and as you complete the different maps, you'll get more of a glimpse into her life. The journal pages have photos to unfold whilst you hear her innermost thoughts. I really enjoyed this as I tend to skip past large chunks of the story or just quickly skim it if I'm faced with a big wall of text in games. So having the pictures to figure out whilst listening to the story definitely kept my brain engaged. Although I did enjoy learning about her life and why we were undertaking this journey, I don't think Paige's story was expanded upon as much as it could, and if it had been, it would definitely have drawn out the game a little bit more. Fear not though, it is not just Paige you will learn about in this story. As in this journey, there are a few different maps, and whilst travelling the world, there are various characters who will reveal themselves to you. Although you don't get a deep dive into these characters either, the few words that they share with you are quite telling about who they are, and I did enjoy being able to have a small snapshot into their personalities and the lives of these townfolk. Overall, I really did enjoy the fact that there was a narrative element to this game. It helped things flow, it helped you kind of understand why you were moving through these different levels and explaining the moves that are being taken. But I will say, this isn't a deep storytelling adventure. Definitely not. It is more focused on the puzzles, and the story is there as kind of an accompaniment. And it may cause you to feel like you want a little bit more from it, because that is how I felt. But nonetheless, it is a good addition, and I'm happy that there is kind of some storytelling element to this puzzle game. I think perhaps maybe the lack of story was perhaps an intentional thing, and if it was, it makes perfect sense because it's allowing the puzzles to shine in this game, and that they do. The puzzles I did find enjoyable, and as you expect with most puzzle games, they do start off quite simple. You find yourself just folding in different directions to find the path forward, and the beginning levels were quite easy to master. However, in total there are 10 different areas, and within each of these areas there is definitely an increased level of difficulty with new components and new elements added, and I do find that within the particular areas there is an increased level of difficulty as you reach the end of that particular level. So it's not just you if you're struggling nearer the end. Some of the mechanics definitely took me a while to get used to and fully master, so don't get complacent early on. It does get more challenging as more of these components are kind of layered in, but it is still enjoyable, and definitely a little bit head scratching involved. My favourite levels involve using the reflections of light or lasers to trigger effects, and because you only need to trigger it once, there was not a concern about having to keep it the same position, which was good because that would have been a whole other level of stress. One of the features you also have is the ability to see what is on the page behind. This is something I really appreciated, as it means you're not just folding the pages willy-nilly to find the right path, and it allows you to plan ahead and think about how you're going to solve the problem that is in front of you. In summary, I think the puzzles are a really nice mix between variety and difficulty. It made me excited to get onto the next area to see what was unlocked next, and it also made the gameplay loop not feel stale and not repetitive, which is a huge bonus. I'm very grateful for this after grinding hundreds of hours in farming sims recently. Next up, let's talk about controls. I played this game on computer with keyboard and mouse, which is generally my preferred method of playing. With a game all about folding, you do need this to be smooth, and for the most of it, turning the pages felt nice and it was easy to identify where the folds were to make your move. I also like the fact that you could choose to move your character by clicking on a square or by using keyboard to control your character. It was nice to have those options. The only minor issue I did have was with some of the moving blocks. I couldn't quite find or figure out what the solution was to the map that I was on, so I moved my mouse all around the map and I couldn't see any clickable box, and that kind of blocked my progression for a while. And then after some time I did notice my mistake and realized that I had to hover over the bottom of the block to be able to grab it. So the only slight bit of advice I may have is to make sure that you familiarize yourself with the blocks and their abilities, and you'll know if an item can be moved or clicked on, as it will highlight with a white glow around it. I did not try it with a controller, but the movements in this game are fairly simple, so I really cannot foresee there being an issue with playing it that way or on the Switch itself. I don't think I really need to say it because you can obviously see it for yourself, but papertrail's graphics and art style is so charming and unique, which although in some areas such as character creation may seem simple, they are overall adorable and I did fall in love with them. There is just something quite wholesome about them. I did particularly enjoy the changes in scenery throughout the different environments. Every kind of map had its own theme and had its own color palette, and it really did help reflect the time that had passed on Paige's journey, which I just thought was a nice way to kind of tie everything in. Another standout feature of this game is definitely the music. It was atmospheric and complemented the environment of the game. The music was crossed with eerie game sounds like the turning of paper and small footsteps pattering. The sounds also matched specific levels perfectly, like the dripping of the water in the caves, which just added a whole other eerie level to it. The voice acting, although minimal, was well narrated in the journal segments and the voice was very soothing. The other characters, instead of using voice acting, they were actually given interesting sounds for their chat, which I wasn't quite a fan of to begin with. I didn't know how to take it, but they did grow on me, and the voices or sounds, they were also kind of melodic in their delivery, which kind of made it feel a little bit lighthearted, and I did enjoy it by the end of the game, seeing all of the different voices. It was cute. So there are the kind of key features and my thoughts on them, but there are a few other kind of pros and cons that have stood out to me about Papertrail. So firstly, the pros, I'm going to start off with the tutorial, because one thing I despise about games is sitting through endless walls of text, as I said earlier, and especially when it comes to a tutorial. I don't feel like that's my best way to learn. I'm more of an active person when it comes to learning things, and in the beginning you are introduced to the story whilst getting familiar with the mechanics of the game, which is of course the folding. The creators did a fabulous job of integrating the tutorial whilst learning about the story, and I think it was a really nice touch. As I said, I'm definitely someone who learns through exploration and trying things for myself, and this worked very well. I also did appreciate the hint system in the game. I tried not to use it too much and I tried to go it alone, but I did find myself turning to it when I got stuck. And I have zero shame in that because it definitely didn't reveal to you all of the answers. It will just tell you the folds that are needed, but not the necessary moves, which although at the time was annoying, when you look back at it, because you just want to progress, in hindsight, this is the right balance to being able to use your brain, but also kind of having some help along the way. Another thing which did help if I got stuck was the restart level option. I was a bit worried about using this in the beginning because I didn't want it to throw me all the way back to the beginning of the area, but luckily it just resets you onto the current page that you are on, which is really helpful. So you don't have to go through everything you've already done. You can just kind of focus on that. I did find that it was good to kind of restart the level, and then if you needed to, you could quickly look through the hints and then start all over again. So if you're stressing, that's probably the best way to go about it. Throughout the levels, there are also small origami pieces to collect. I will be honest and say that I was focused on getting through each of these challenges, that I did ignore most of them this time around, but these are a great addition to the game. If you're a fan of fully completing games and kind of finding all the collectibles in the world, this is a great option for you. And obviously they're origami, so they fit perfectly with the paper theme. I also just want to talk about the length of the game. I completed this game in a handful of sittings, probably like 4 or 5 maybe. My Steam says that it took me 8.6 hours to complete, but I know I am terrible at getting distracted and I have a habit of leaving games open, so I don't think this is all that accurate. But it does kind of correlate with what's posted on the How Long to Beat website, so maybe there is kind of some similarities to it. It might just take you a little bit less time than that. I do think that there is a good amount of content for the kind of gameplay, which is, I wasn't disappointed by it basically. I thought that this was going to be like a 2-hour game and it would be over, as that's kind of what I tend to expect from puzzle games because you don't get hundreds of hours out of them, but it did seem right for my expectations. I'm sure some of you will disagree with me on that point, but I think there is probably replayability to this as well. So you could do it and then come back to it a month later and you've probably forgotten all of the kind of aspects and all of the right moves for it as well. And my final pro, which is going to be a bit of an odd thing to say because it is the ending. I will keep this spoiler free, don't worry. But I did like the ending because it allowed you to look back at how far you've come and reminisce on the levels and characters, which was just really nice because it's a puzzle game. You put a lot of brain power into this. So being able to kind of have that there was just cute and it was a nice way to finish it. As for cons, I don't think there's anything blaringly obvious about this game that I hated. The only thing that I wanted more of was the story, like I said earlier, but this game is what it says on the tin. It is a puzzle game, and obviously puzzle games do come with a bit of frustration at not being able to complete the levels, and I did go through that a little bit. There was a couple of times when I was like, hey, husband, please help me, but he didn't have a clue what was going on and it was just a bit of trial and error and getting there. I never felt the need to like rage quit. I did have to retrace my steps and kind of restart a few levels, but I got there, and just patience is key with these kind of games. So as we're nearing the end, I just wanted to give my rating, and I also just wanted to add that it has been a while since I fully completed a game, and as someone who has a very short attention span, it is a struggle to keep me enthralled, but that is what papertrail did, and I'm really happy that I managed to complete this wonderful game. I would recommend this to anyone that is wanting to try more puzzle games, but I will say this. Be patient. You won't solve every level the first time, and it is definitely going to be some trial and error to find the right solution, but that makes finishing this game even more of an accomplishment. I would give this game a strong 8.5 out of 10. Let me know in the comments if you're going to be giving this game a try and what you think of it. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.